Is Richa Ghosh the best wicketkeeper batter for India yet?
Ever since Anju Jain, who was a prominent wicketkeeper batter for the Indian team, who made a debut in 1993 but retired in 2005, the Indian team have struggled to find a solid wicketkeeper who can not only keep wickets behind the stumps but can also score a lot of runs. And that's exactly what we are going to go through in this video on how the Indian team found gold with Richa Ghosh. Before we go through the wicketkeepers that the Indian team tried and tested since the 2017 World Cup, hit that subscribe button.
From 2017 to present day, India has been able to try out 4 wicketkeepers who've mainly carried out this job in this period. Now, there was a 5th wicketkeeper who was a part of the 2017 World Cup squad, but she never got a game in that World Cup period or even after. In fact, she only played the one game, which was her debut match, which she played just before the World Cup. And this wicketkeeper was Nusrat Parveen. Now, even in the one game that she did play, she did not get to bat, and unfortunately, thereafter, she barely played again for India. She only got a couple of T20s. But shifting our focus and attention back to the prominent wicketkeepers for India in this period, the first name that comes into our mind is Sushma Verma. Like a lot of aspiring cricketers of her period, Sushma Verma looked up to Adam Gilchrist. Her story goes that in 2009 she was a part of the Himachal trials, and from there she tried not only as a fast bowler but also as a batter and then a wicketkeeper finally. It was as this wicketkeeper that she found her real love, and this is where she progressed into state cricket as a wicketkeeper. Eventually this is how she got selected for India because of her wicketkeeping ability, and this is what she did for her career. And Sushma Verma's case was very interesting, right? Because if you look up her stats, you'll see her averages and you'll think, why was she in the squad? But this also throws light on how Indian cricket used to think about wicketkeepers at that point in time, and this is in 2017. It was a very old school traditional way of thinking of wicketkeepers because this is someone who on average would bat at number 8 in terms of their batting position, and at times she would even come into bat at number 10. In the 43 ODIs that she did play for India, she batted in 24 innings, has got no 50s in this period and had a batting average of just 9.5. However, the discussion also comes down to whether or not this was due to the fact that she kept batting so late in the order or because her batting ability was just very limited. Her 2017 World Cup with the bat was no different. In the 9 matches that she did play, she batted in just 6 innings, and here too she averaged just 12.7. Now, for a country where there has been so much batting talent, it was a real surprise to see her get these many games. For a wicketkeeper bat to have an average of 9.5 and still get 43 games was extremely surprising. This is also something that she herself spoke about because she was very conscious of her ability to strike the ball. This is also something that she worked on eventually and got better at, but this throws great light at India in terms of how they looked at wicketkeepers during this period. And call it bad luck or just poor batting performances, unfortunately through her career she had 6 ducks, the most for a designated Indian wicketkeeper. She equaled the record of Anju Jain, who had played more than double the amount of innings.
Now, because of these performances, the Indian team were looking for another wicketkeeper. 14 months after the World Cup, the Indian team debuted a wicketkeeper named Tania Bhatia. Hailing from a cricketing family, her parents always pushed Tania Bhatia to play the game of cricket. It was no surprise that she was always leaning to become a wicketkeeper because her father himself was a backup wicketkeeper at one point for Punjab. However, when her dad enrolled her into a cricketing academy, he wanted her to become a fast bowler. But because of her height, which at that point seemed to be at a disadvantage, her coach pursued her to become a wicketkeeper, and that is something she automatically fell in love with. Because her father realized that Tania was taking cricket very seriously at a very young age, he made sure that she was sent into a cricket academy to train under Yogaraj Singh. And as a 9-year-old, not only was she training under Yogaraj Singh, but she was playing a lot of cricket with the boys. Now here's what is interesting. Even though Tania Bhatia only played 19 matches for the Indian team with an average of just 15, where she crossed only 50 once, she seemed at the time a better fit than Sushma Verma. In fact, in her very first game, she scored 68 of 66. Objectively, this innings was very important because she was a wicketkeeper batter playing a very first game for the Indian team and scoring at a strike rate of more than 100. Even though this was around 2017 and 18, this was a very rare thing for Indian cricket at that time. It's no coincidence that it was also around this time that Sushma Verma was falling out of favor from the Indian team, because ever since Tania Bhatia's debut, Sushma Verma has only played 5 ODI matches for the Indian team. Now, although Tania Bhatia showed a lot of promise in her first ever match, she was yet another example of a specialist keeper who can hold the bat. And this is because apart from a 68 on her debut, she's only crossed 20 across 11 innings just once. What's very interesting is she's only batted at number 6 once, which is on her debut once again. Apart from that, she's mostly batted at number 7 or 8. And this was not because she was looked as a finisher, because if you look at her strike rate, she only struck at 69. This could either probably because she didn't have space up the order, or because the Indian team did not have enough confidence in her batting. And this is where Richa Ghosh makes her debut. At age just 17, she makes a debut for the Indian team against Australia, where in the 3 matches that she plays, she scores 32 not out, a 44, and unfortunately a duck out in the 3rd match. But she is someone who we will come to later on and cover extensively.
And this is where we move to the latest addition for someone who's kept for the Indian team, and that's Yastika Bhatia. Like a lot of girls in India, Yastika Bhatia's story is no different. She is also someone who very early on started off playing playing cricket, around the age of 8 or 9, she was already being pushed into various kinds of trials. And by the age of just 11, she was already a part of the senior state Baroda team. And Yastika was of a slightly different mold because along with being a wicketkeeper, she was also someone who was better at batting. This is of course also evident in the fact that in most of her international career, she has predominantly batted in the top 3. And even when she has kept wickets, that's only come in 12 out of the 28 games that she has played in ODIs. But Bhatia's batting also has not been without its fair share of criticism. While since her debut, she has been India's 8th highest run scorer in ODIs, what's not been in her favour is her strike rate. Amongst the top 10 run scorers, she has the lowest strike rate along with Mithali Raj, but even apart from that, her consistency is something that needs to be questioned. She had the second lowest average amongst the top 10 run scorers, and she's second only to Shefali Verma. It is no surprise that both of these players in the recent past have been in and out of the squads. In the 16 innings where Yastika Bhatia has not played as a wicketkeeper, she averages 27.5 and has a strike rate of 70. Whereas when she keeps, this average comes down to 20.5 and the strike rate increases slightly to 77. But being just 24 years of age, Yastika Bhatia is very much in the contention to be India's wicketkeeper bat. In fact, she had a brilliant series against Australia in the recently concluded matches, where in the 350 over games that she played, she got a 50 in 2 of these. She ended the series with an average of 55.6. And this is important because it means that even if she's not someone who might take up the gloves, she can at least still come into bat for the Indian team if she continues to put in performances like this consistently.
And this is where we come to the silver lining that the Indian team has found amongst the dark clouds, and that's Richa Ghosh. Richa Ghosh, like a lot of other wicketkeepers, has a very familiar story. Richa for the longest time was a batter who was more than handy as a seam bowler. She again, like a lot of women Indian cricketers, at the age of 14, she made her debut for the Bengal senior team. And at the age of 16, she was also included for the ICC Indian Women's T20 World Cup in the India squad. It was because of a couple of knocks in the T20 Challenger Trophy prior to that helped her climb up the ranks so quickly. What's fascinating about Richa Ghosh is the fact that she did not don the gloves until she became a regular for the Indian team. That's when she started keeping wickets regularly for Bengal and now for the Indian team. Which means she's the only wicketkeeper amongst the list that we are talking about who started taking wicketkeeping at a very later age. Richa has played 37 matches, scored more than 800 runs, has an average of 30 and a very impressive strike rate of 92. In this short career as a wicketkeeper, she's already the 3rd highest run scorer for the Indian team. She also has 6 50s as a wicketkeeper, which is already the 3rd most for an Indian wicketkeeper in one-day internationals. She was one such wicketkeeper that already stood out from the rest because in the first 7 games that she played, which included 2 series against Australia and New Zealand in Australia and New Zealand, she showed that she has big game temperament because not only was she playing 2 big sides, but in these games she scored 2 half centuries where both the half centuries were with a strike rate of more than 100. After the start that she had, she also got a bit of a reality check because in the 2022 World Cup, she played 7 innings, scoring just 81 runs with an average of just 11 and a strike rate of 60. A lot of people assume she's yet another wicketkeeper who can just hold the bat.
And this is also eventually what led to her being dropped from that ODI squad. It was a very similar case to a lot of other wicketkeepers who had been given a bit of a rope, had shown an early spark with the bat, but from there on had been extremely inconsistent. And also given the fact that Richa Ghosh was extremely young, not even 20 years of age at the time, it was important for her to be able to go back to her roots, go back to domestic cricket, score some runs, and then possibly knock the door once again for the Indian team. And that's exactly what she did. After a long hiatus of about 14 months, Richa Ghosh finally made it back into that ODI squad, ironically once again against the Australians. While Yastika Bhatia was keeping in the absence of Richa Ghosh, as soon as Richa Ghosh came back into the squad, she was the designated wicketkeeper. She returned with an absolute bang, getting scores of 21, 96 and 19, all of these innings coming with her batting at number 3 while Yastika Bhatia opened the innings. And from there on, this is where a lot of Indian fans got confidence in Richa Ghosh's abilities because not only did she become a lot more consistent, but she was someone who could bat in any position through the batting order. In fact, since her comeback, Richa Ghosh has played 22 innings where she's got 539 runs. This at an average of 33, but more impressively, it's come at a very high strike rate of 107. She's also got 4 50s in this period, and her biggest improvement is just the fact that she can come in and explode. Something that immediately sets Richa Ghosh apart from a lot of the other wicketkeepers that India have had is her ability to be able to bat well, bat consistently, but also her big game temperament and the explosiveness she brings. Not only she's someone who can come in and get the runs flowing, but she is also someone who, if a team is in the good situation, she can finish off innings extremely well. We have seen this through various series, especially in the England series recently, but overall we have seen a great improvement in just her ball striking ability. This is also evident in her strike rates. While since her debut she's had a strike rate of 98, which is the second highest in this period, what is more impressive is that since her comeback the strike rate has gone up even further. Striking at 107.5 amongst the top 10 run getters for India, this is the best batting strike rate. And because of the advent of Richa Ghosh, it has allowed India to be a lot more creative and imaginative. You can clearly see that unlike a lot of batters from the past who used to keep wickets, Richa Ghosh is slightly different in the sense that she is a batter who can keep wickets. She's someone who can give you so much with the bat. She is one who can come into any situation, and all of this with her just being 21 years of age. With so much cricket and so much learning left for her, it is all but obvious that she is going to be India's wicketkeeper going into this World Cup, but more importantly, she is one for a lot of years to come.
This has been our video on Indian wicketkeepers and why Richa Ghosh is the special one. If you have enjoyed this video, like, share and subscribe, all that good stuff. Hype up this video so that this video will be pushed to a lot more people. We have also started memberships where we will have curated lives and videos for just members. So buy the membership if you're interested. If you haven't followed us on our socials, all the links are in the description below, so do that too. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.